Hey, how you doing? Today I want to talk about something that I don't do very often, but I'm just going to be honest with you. I know how to do it, and I see a lot of people teaching this are sort of pseudo teaching it, with examples and stuff that I got to tell you, I don't really think a lot of them know what they're doing. I mean to sound like a big know-it-all or anything, but I mean some things are pretty obvious and some things, I don't know, to some people not so obvious. But look, we're talking about clamshell lighting. Like I said, I don't do it a lot, but I just think that, a lot of people are interested in this, and I think it's something that I wanted to sort of explain, at least my take on it. A lot of people kind of screw this up. I don't want you to screw it up, so this is my attempt at kind of, if you've seen other people do it and you think it's a little off, I'm going to tell you why it is. I'm going to tell you why you think that theirs, it seems a little, maybe not so good. Anyway, clamshell lighting. This is typically the type of lighting you'd use for, it's sort of the foundation for beauty lighting. This is a two light setup. Okay, and the reason it's called clamshell lighting, if you look at the example here, you've got one light, above and one light kind of below, and it looks kind of like a clamshell. But the point of this type of lighting is to, have less detail on the face. Actually, it's to fill in the shadows, and when you fill in the shadows, you're cutting down on the amount of information that the viewer gets to process in terms of shape and texture and things like that. So, really it cuts down on things like, the excessive baggage under the eyes and, acne, little bumps in the skin, wrinkles, things like that. Things that I don't really mind so much, but lots of times people, they come in and they want to look, beauty pageant perfect, okay? And lots of times this is, like I said, this is just a foundation for that type of lighting. Sometimes you'll have the one light up here, the one light or reflector down here, a couple reflectors to the side. This big, bunch of light hitting the face and just basically eliminating all the shadows, which again cuts down on the detail. Now you can see here that that top light is the main light. Okay, just think of it that way. Just think of this whole thing as a regular portrait setup just turned over on its end like that. Just, you've got your main light usually, and then you've got a fill light over here, or a reflector. This is, take it the other way around. So you've got your main light coming up here on top, kind of like in the butterfly lighting scenario. And then you've got another light here at the bottom. Now here's where things go wrong. All right, this is the one big mistake that you need to avoid. I'm going to get to this. First, let me just take a quick look here at, just to explain what you're seeing here. This is the clamshell lighting setup, and over here on the right hand side you see the result of that. And let me just go ahead and show you what you can do if you're using that setup was using a couple of umbrellas and speed lights. This setup here is using a couple of alien bees, and you can see where now you don't have identical lighting modifiers on each light. You've got like a big softbox on the top, you've got an umbrella on the bottom, and like I said, it could be anything on the bottom, it could be anything on the top. It's just light on one, light coming in from the top, light coming in from the bottom, and then it's just a matter of adjusting the ratio of that lighting. And here, I think that's a pretty decent ratio of light. But let's get back to the big mistake that people make. All right, this is what you want to avoid. And I don't know why people, show examples of clamshell lighting and they say this is how to do it, and they do it wrong. I don't know why they do that. I think that people get overconfident about their ability, and that's another topic. All right, so over here on the left, you've got a decent ratio. Again, over here on the right, not so much. Can you see what's wrong here? All right, I'm really going to drive this point home with this next example here. All right, this will make everything crystal clear. Picture one, you've got the clamshell lighting set up, but you've only got, here I only have the top light in effect, okay? Bottom light's turned off. So you can see that that's your main light. You can see the shadows, and it's in kind of a butterfly lighting setup. Now, if you don't know what butterfly lighting is, it's one of like the 5 main portrait lighting scenarios. I've got some videos on that. Go ahead and check them out. That'll get you up to speed on what butterfly lighting is. Now, go over to picture number 2, and you can see that we've got the clamshell lighting in effect, because you've got that bottom light coming in, filling in some of the shadows, and you can see that clearly. Just take a look at the cheeks, the shadows around the cheeks, the shadows around the eyes. So take a look under the eyes, and you've got the shadows in picture 1. They're kind of diminished in picture 2. Another thing to look at, and this can be helpful if you're trying to break down or reverse engineer some lighting that you see in someone's photo. Okay, now in picture 1, there's like this little glint of specular highlights in the top area of the eyes, so that it indicates where that light is, that main light is. Go over here to picture number 2, and you can see I have to apologize for the low resolution of these examples here, but there is still that glint in the top of the eyes, but there's also this bright, area of specular highlight down here on the bottom portions of the eyes. All right, that would indicate that there's a light source or some type of reflector. There's some type of light coming up from the bottom. Anyway, so picture number 2, I think, is a pretty good example of quality clamshell lighting. Lots of times you'll see people showing something closer to picture number 3, right? That might also qualify as almost okay clamshell lighting, but I think you've got the ratio off on picture number 3. It's just a little too bright there on the bottom light, okay? Some of the shadows are starting to show up, coming in. The underlighting effect, coming in the wrong direction. You've got that underlighting sort of coming up here, and you can see that usually around the nose, but it's just an odd kind of look, all right? It just looks like there's more light coming in from the bottom than the top. I would argue that somewhere in between picture number 2 and 3, finding a ratio somewhere in between there, you're gonna be pretty safe. But once you get to picture number 3, once you get to a ratio like that, you're crossing over into just dumb territory, all right? Now, moving on to picture number 4, you're way out of why would you do that? You wouldn't do that. I know you wouldn't do that. Picture number 4, you've gone too far. That's underlighting. You have, with the bottom light, you have totally overpowered your main light. Okay, so that's no longer a fill light anymore. The bottom light is now the main light, and the top light is the fill light. It just doesn't make sense. You've got underlighting. That's not what clamshell lighting is supposed to be. So if people show you something like number 4 or somewhere between number 3 and number 4, and they say, oh, look, it's clamshell lighting, this is how to do it. That's not how you do it. You do it more like somewhere between number 2 and number 3, okay? Well, I don't know why I'm getting so worked up about this. It's just a little thing like that. It's not so much that people make the mistake, but it's when they make that mistake and then they show you and then they tell you this is how to do it right and it's wrong. That's what kind of gets me. Anyway, so I've got lots of different tutorials on how to do this kind of stuff. I've got some ebooks and stuff like that. You know where to go. The link's down at the bottom if you want to see more of that stuff. And there you go. That's clamshell lighting. It's not that hard to do. The main thing is that you've got to keep your eye on those ratios. And how do you do that? If there's no real formula, I mean, maybe there is, but how do I do it? I do it on a case-by-case basis, okay? So every subject's going to be different. Everybody's got kind of a different face and kind of a different complexion. And get that main light right. Get a good butterfly light. Then bring in a second light or a reflector, something that'll fill in those shadows just right, okay? You want to fill in those shadows just right. You don't want to go too far with that bottom light, okay? That's supposed to be a fill light, essentially. It should not cross over into a main light. Also, you can add, like I said before, you can add some reflectors on the sides or maybe even a couple of other fill lights on the sides. Lots of things you can do with this. This is your basic setup. I hope you found this video useful. I hope I didn't rant too much. Kind of feel like I did, but maybe you'll forgive me. If you like this video, go ahead and click that like button. Give me a thumbs up. That tells me that you appreciate all the ranting, hard work that I do. And if you haven't already, go ahead and click the subscribe button. That's all I got for you today. I got a lot of stuff to do. But I had to sit down with you and talk about this. Anyway, I hope you found this useful. little ranty, but I hope it was useful. I'll see you next time.